From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 29th, 2020. We open with response from the Jewish world and the world at large to the peace plan for Israel and the Palestinians unveiled yesterday at the White House by U.S. President Donald Trump. The leaders of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, Arthur Stark and Malcolm Hoenlein, who were at the event, said, "We saw today the fullest expression of the U.S.-Israel relationship and America's commitment to Israel's long-term security, fulfilling Palestinian aspirations, and to providing a lasting solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. This can be a new beginning," they said, "for the region, paving the way for a new era of Palestinian prosperity, full relationships between Israel and Arab states, and peace in the Middle East." CEO of the American Jewish Committee, David Harris, said no one expects the parties to endorse every proposed element with equal enthusiasm, but there's a potential basis here for starting talks in earnest, and with the knowledge that there are important provisions and, yes, painful concessions for both sides. B'nai B'rith International CEO Daniel Mariashian was also present at the White House yesterday. He released a statement with International President Charles Kaufman that the administration proposal is grounded in reality and should serve as a sound basis for negotiations, calling on the Palestinians to embrace this opportunity. The Anti-Defamation League said they are studying the peace plan and that ultimately the two parties must engage together on a settlement of the conflict, and so we hope, they said, that this might prompt both sides to resume negotiations toward a two-state solution that leads to a lasting and just peace. The Union for Reform Judaism's Rabbi Rick Jacobs said, "We laud all efforts to bring peace and firmly believe that a secure Israel side by side with a viable Palestinian state is in the best interest of American foreign policy and, of course, for the future of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state." But they also expressed concern over Netanyahu's plan to unilaterally establish Israeli law over the settlements in the West Bank and the Jordan Valley, proposed, Jacobs said, for final status under the Trump plan. He said, "We believe that this move toward annexation is dangerous for Israel's future and for stability and peace of the region overall." And J Street, which is known to be on the left, denounced the plan, saying it had zero chance of serving as the basis for renewed diplomacy. Pro-Israel lobby AIPAC, meanwhile, called the plan a solid basis for negotiations, tweeting that while all parties will have their differences with this framework, it is time for Palestinians to rejoin Israelis at the negotiating table. A lasting, genuine peace will inevitably require agreement between the parties themselves and tough compromises from both sides. And in the Arab world, Egypt said it calls on the two concerned parties to undertake a careful and thorough examination of the U.S. vision to achieve peace and open channels of dialogue, adding that negotiations would aim for a comprehensive and just peace and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. The Arab League said it will convene an urgent meeting on Saturday in response to the plan. And the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Joseph Borrell, said that the EU will study the plan as well. Israel's Channel 13 quoted Borrell saying the EU urges both sides to show a sincere commitment to a two-state solution. And some clarifications today of certain elements of the peace plan that seem contradictory. U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman, when asked about Trump saying the status quo at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem's Old City would remain unchanged, but also saying that all faiths should be able to pray there, Friedman said there is nothing in the plan that would impose any alteration of the status quo that is not subject to agreement of all the parties. He said, "We would hope that the parties would agree to be more open to religious observance everywhere, including on the Temple Mount." But Friedman stressed it is only something that will be changed through the agreement. If there isn't an agreement, there won't be any change. Friedman also suggested that there was a process to be had before Israel could apply sovereignty to the Jordan Valley and the settlements in Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank. He told reporters today that an Israeli-American committee would discuss the exact parameters of annexation. Meanwhile, Israel's Defense Minister Naftali Bennett announced that he had established a special team to lead the effort for annexation, calling for it to begin before the elections on March the 2nd in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu had said last night that he would bring a vote on annexation to his cabinet on Sunday. However, that seems to have been pushed back to allow, in particular, for Israel's Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit to weigh in. Well, an Israeli-American woman who was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison for a small amount of marijuana found in her luggage has been pardoned. A statement from the Kremlin said that Russian President Vladimir Putin pardoned 27-year-old Naama Issachar today on humanitarian grounds, just ahead of Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to Moscow tomorrow. Netanyahu tweeted his thanks to Putin this afternoon. It is believed that the Prime Minister will take Issachar with him on his flight back to Israel. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, January the 29th at 7 o'clock. It's from the Aleph Bet, followed by the first Vice Speaker of the Parliament of Georgia, Tamar Shugoshvili, in conversation with AJC's David Harris. At 8, Ruth Wise talks about the threat of socialism in America, and Victor Davis Hanson addresses Israeli exceptionalism. That's at the 2019 Jewish Leadership Conference on Jews and Conservatism. At 9, Mark Golub sits down with Charles Small on L'chaim. At 10:30, we hear from the daughter of a high-ranking Hamas sheikh rescued by the Orthodox Jewish Outreach and Counter Missionary Organization in Israel, Yad La'achim. And coming up right after this newscast, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, January the 29th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader.